My name is Paul LeClaire. Where are libraries going? What are they going to be like? How profoundly transformative is this era? The answer is not a simple one, but I think it's a clear one. Libraries right now are at the most pivotally important moment for them, I think, in all of their history, basically, in terms of how they adapt to new forms of transmitting information. Now, if I could just step back for a moment. I did a calculation not so long ago about how stable the world of information transfer was for almost all of human history until quite recently. From the time people first started writing things down and passing them around in ancient Mesopotamia until the time that copyright laws were put into effect, 5,000 years passed. That's how long from the beginning of Babylonian clay tablets until the first copyright laws in Great Britain, 5,000 years. So an immensely long period of time, and everything was stable. You wrote something down, it circulated, you didn't get money for it necessarily, people could copy it, it was all over the place. Well, I mean, it was as widely distributed as could be in a physical format. The time that the book as we know it was created 2,000 years ago in Pergamum until Gutenberg, 1,500 years passed. Okay, so from
still big periods of time.
Big periods of time. From the time that Gutenberg and others, in the West at least, created movable type and started printing books until the internet, another 500 years. But then from the internet to search engines, like 7 years. And so what you've had is, in the world of information distribution, from the beginning of human writing, human expression in written form, until relatively recent, until the last 15 years or so, you had great, enormously long epochs in which everything was stable, and people didn't really have to adjust to rapid transformation. All right, when Gutenberg came along, things changed very quickly. The hand copying of manuscripts declined. Books became printed in multiple sets and volumes. Copies were distributed, and that in itself was a revolution. And I used to think that the World Wide Web was a huge revolution, comparable to Gutenberg, but was what I now think was authentically revolutionary and as transformative as Gutenberg were search engines. Because suddenly, I mean, right now there are supposedly 64 million websites on the web. And you couldn't do a whole lot with them until the creation of search engines.
Google has always been about creating products that make finding information easier for users. And Google Book Search is a great example of making all of the world's cultural and historical information available through any web browser to anyone, anywhere in the world. My name is Adam Smith. I am a group business product manager at Google, and I work on the Google Book Search product as well as the Google Scholar product. Google Book Search is an effort to make all of the world's books searchable online. And what's interesting about the project is it allows people to search the insides of all of the books and have the search across the full text of books from all languages and all cultures. Absolutely, we view this as an evolution of the card catalog and assisting people to find books that are of interest to them and books that they may not have otherwise found through traditional finding means.
There's an old story in the business world about what killed the railroads. They made the mistake of thinking they were in the train business, when really they were in the transportation business. In the same way, libraries are not in the book business.
We absolutely don't want to put libraries out of business. We are partnering closely with libraries today, and we view our mission, which is to make all the world's information universally accessible and useful, as very complementary to the library's traditional mission, which has been providing people access to information and helping them discover new information. So we actually see librarians today working closely with Google and using Google tools to assist their patrons in finding information.
Well, you can't read that much on the screen. If you have to read anything that's really long form, you need a book. And I can't buy all the books that I read. I read a lot.
And what librarians have done for 5,000 years now is put information into order.
Historically, they've been the only ones that have collected all the world's books. If you look at all the world's books that have ever been published, only about 10% are on sale today. Thus, libraries themselves hold 90% of the world's books that are no longer accessible in any other fashion. So we've partnered with libraries to work with their rich collections to make them essentially discoverable again and findable by the folks that are searching for information online. Yes, so making all of the world's books searchable is an enormous effort, and an effort that will take years and years. And so we really view this as a complementary project to all those other projects that you've mentioned. And we see this, in order to make this vision become a reality, we're going to have to work closely with partners such as the Internet Archive, as well as with our library partners. We're actually at an interesting point in time where this vision of having all the world's books searchable online is really becoming a reality. And using the technologies available, we think that this will be able to deliver this within the next few years. One of the interesting facts is that, you know, over the past year, you've seen more books published than in previous years, and you've seen more people visiting libraries than in previous years, at least according to stats from the New York Public Library. So really making these books available and searchable online, we feel, will continue to drive these trends to get people reading more and visiting their library more to actually get access to these books and other resources that the libraries provide.
For instance, this year the library's website will have 1.5 billion hits, and that's with no advertising, no marketing, no promotion whatsoever.
Wow.
Now, people come to us in gigantic numbers. People come to the New York Public Library. The turnstiles of the New York Public Library this year will crank 15 million times. So that's huge. I don't think there's any library in the world that gets the kinds of physical visits that we do. At the same time, however, there'll be 21 million electronic visits through the web. And those are real visits because the average length of time is 15 minutes each on the web. Public Library's mission today is very, very simple: to take in massive quantities of print information or information that exists in a physical format, which is what we've done now for over a century. We're not abandoning that. At the same time, we are embracing as tightly as we can information technology, wireless environments, computers everywhere, digitizing our own collections, possible partnerships with the commercial sector to digitize even more material, and blasting the whole place open. And so giving, in effect, universal access to these collections.
The library is in a point of transition that could pretty much go extinct. I mean, we could actually lose the library system in the form that it is that I grew up in. So what libraries could, on the negative side, is as this digitalization wave goes through, if one or two companies effectively control either journals or digitized law or digitized medicine, then you basically can only go to one or two companies to be able to get access to it. Then a library just becomes a way of doing collective bargaining for access to a company's collection.
Yeah, Google Book Search is interesting in that we don't provide the full text of the book to be downloaded. All we're providing is the ability for people to search across those books and then determine if a book is relevant to them. Once they've done so, they can buy a book from a retail bookstore, or they could go to their library and access it there.